Here. Yesterday, we highlighted a small delegation of Republican lawmakers who traveled to Kyiv this week. Congressman Michael McCaul of Texas, the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, led the group that met with Ukrainian President Zelensky. While there, McCaul told reporters the momentum in Washington is shifting toward sending the long-range missiles and fighter jets Ukraine has been asking for. The United States ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink, was in that meeting and helped to coordinate other talks between the United States lawmakers and their Ukrainian counterparts. And Ambassador Brink joins us now from Kyiv. Madam Ambassador, thank you for joining us today. I want to ask you about that meeting, but also just to go back to the president's visit to Kyiv on Monday, walking the streets in these extraordinary images with President Zelensky. To the extent you can now disclose some of it, how long that's been in the works, how it came together, and what it meant to the people of Ukraine.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be here. I can say that just 1 year ago, Russia tried to invade Ukraine, subjugate another country, but the Ukrainian people resisted, and under U.S. leadership, we rallied the world in support of Ukraine's fight for freedom, and I'm so proud of what we have done. Having the president visit on Monday was a historic chance for our president to be able to show literally the people of Ukraine our support in his presence. And he had a terrific set of meetings with President Zelensky and his government, and also had a chance to meet with my team here on the ground. So we were really proud to be a part of that visit. It was in the planning for quite some time, but a very, very small group of people knew, because obviously there were serious security concerns.
Ambassador Brink, 1 year in, that's where we are with the war against Russia. Can you indicate to us the feelings in the Ukraine after such massive losses of life, damage to properties, families separated, volunteers? I don't know how many volunteers you have left to fight this war against Russia. Can you give us a sense of the feel on the ground, the emotion on the ground, going forward into the second year of this dreadful war?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question and for the very accurate description of the situation here. I can tell you, perhaps from the perspective of a teenage boy who's a survivor of the occupation in Kherson in the south. So I have the chance to meet with survivors and hear from them firsthand what they have experienced. And this young boy was asked the question is, how do you feel 1 year into this war? How do you feel as a teenage boy in Ukraine? And he said two things. He said, one, it's been a year of terror, a year of fear, and a year that I would like to delete from my life. But he also said it's also a year of pride in Ukraine and also in the United States and the world in supporting Ukraine's fight for freedom. I think that sums up the sentiment here.
Madam Ambassador, to go further on that very point, we know that particularly in recent months, the Russian offensive has been targeted at civilians, trying to take out the electrical grid, trying to rain missiles down on apartment buildings that have no military value whatsoever. Give us an update on the ground there in terms of things like heat, light, power. Is that in terms of across the country, but also the morale there of the Ukrainian people?
Well, since October 10th, Russia has launched over 20 massive attacks with missiles and drones against Ukraine's energy infrastructure, in addition to daily attacks in other parts of the country. Those massive attacks have also affected the capital and have put incredible strain on the electrical grid. But thanks a lot to the amazingly creative workers on the grid, as well as to Ukraine's air defenders, as well as to our support. They have been able to survive, to keep the grid operating. But most of the country, through most of this very cold winter, has survived on literally hours of power a day and hours of heat a day. That is true in Kyiv and is true across the country. So it's a remarkably resilient people. They are determined to fight. They are determined to fight for their freedom, and we're determined to support them.
Ambassador, we mentioned a moment ago Chairman McCaul leading the congressional delegation of Republicans to Kyiv this week after the president was there and saying, Yes, more fighter jets and those weapons that Zelensky has been asking for should be on the way. There are some voices in the Republican Party who are saying we need to pull back from Ukraine and stop spending money there. But that really is, as we've said on this show, a minority position, even within the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell has signaled again and again his support for aid to Ukraine. What more is coming to Ukraine in your eyes? Will there be those jets? Will there be those long-range weapons?
Well, I can say that we have provided $30 billion under this administration and with congressional support in security assistance alone to Ukraine. And that has provided an unprecedented amount of capabilities to help Ukraine on the battlefield. And we are continuing to be in very close coordination with them as to what they need in the next weeks and months ahead. And we have increased and changed our provision of assistance to meet that need. And I believe that we will continue to do that.
Does that include fighter jets?
All these things are under discussion in terms of capability, but also in terms of actual military objective. And so we are committed to supporting Ukraine in its fight to defend its borders, and we will continue to do that.
U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink, nearing the end of an extraordinary week there. Ambassador, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.